Hello and welcome to Film Favs. I'm Justin Grohl. I am VTV's internal director and resident movie buff. Today I'm joined by...
Andrew Kline.
Great to have you. See, I got it right this time. I'll keep that in. So before we get into your favorite movie, which we'll get to, let's talk about just some brief movie news. So this episode is going to be coming out March 8th, 2 days before the Oscars. And so, it seems to be a pretty set in stone year, in my opinion. But are there any opinions you have on Best Picture, actors?
So I'll start off with my, I guess maybe hot take. So I did not see many movies in theaters this year, but I did see Barbie.
Yes.
And I think it got nominated an adequate amount of times. And I know, empowering women, and I get it. I do think, though, that it is not a film masterpiece. Great message. Do not knock the message. But it's not going to go down in the history books as, a number one film. No. Not buying it.
Yeah, I agree. Just because there's so many nominees now, it just felt like they had to fill in spots, and they tend to grant those now to films that were culturally significant. When they had Black Panther as Best Picture, it was everyone was it's not winning. But it's there because it recognizes how important it was, and I feel that's kind of how Barbie is this year.
Yeah, and I just think of what was the cultural phenomena this summer, and it was Barbenheimer.
Yeah.
Everyone talked about it. Everyone, if you didn't already have a pink shirt, you bought one. Mm-hmm. Everyone talked about it, and I feel yes, it deserves to be a part of the conversation. Do I think it should have any chance at winning? No.
I think the only possibility it has winning in a big category is screenplay, but even then its chances are slim because it's going up against some heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer's in the same category. Poor Things, all those are adapted, so it's you're going up against probably the top two right now in the Best Picture race.
And I think there's also, on the topic of what is a culturally important movie, there's some other films that came out this year that kind of should fall in that conversation that I don't think had at least being part of the everyday conversation of pop culture. The Color Purple, I think there's a certain generation that talked a lot about that movie, and I just don't see it getting the same attention that Barbie did. And I've heard, frankly, better things about that film as a film as opposed to the message.
I remember early, before nominations came out, everyone was Color Purple's sweeping. Color Purple's getting everything. I don't know what nominations it has besides Best Supporting Actress.
I pulled up lists of nominations and was it's not here.
I also I forgot that it came out because no one talked about this movie, and no one made a fuss when it came out. It just kind of came out during Christmas time, and everyone forgot about it until I just scrolled on Max today and I saw it was there. I was oh, that movie came out.
Yeah.
Which I feel is kind of upsetting, especially for such an important movie.
Yeah. I'm a huge Disney fan, primarily the Disney parks, but my friends would just roll the movies into that. And I feel not that Disney had anything groundbreaking in the last year, but there's some things that I don't know, I enjoyed. They're not certainly the best Disney movie. They're not the best movie, but Disney's pretty quiet this year and with what's out there.
I feel past 2 years, maybe 3 years, Disney has been slowly sinking compared to its competitors. In this year's Oscar race, it's between Spider-Man, Across the Spider-Verse, and likely Boy and the Heron. So Studio Ghibli and Sony. Last year it was Netflix and DreamWorks, I believe.
That sounds right.
Yeah, because it was Pinocchio and it was Puss in Boots. Those are movies that are coming from other places besides Disney, and Disney's kind of just fallen back,
And I don't remember the exact position title, but some top executive for Walt Disney's film studios just very abruptly left and is being replaced.
I did see that.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that their strategy right now of just let's take every successful animated film we have and make it a live action film, and that'll last 5 years of content. And it's just not working, I don't think.
Yeah, I think now that Bob Iger's back, I think he's starting to like take control again and be like, all right, let's get this ship back on course.
Well, and I think he realizes, like, go back to February 2020. Yes, it looked like the company was in a great place, but a lot of these things were already set in motion. Mm-hmm. That, like, yeah, they were planning on these live action films, and ultimately, like, I don't know that they were the right decision then. They're certainly not the right decision now. Mm-hmm. It's not working in the box office for them. So, something's got to change, and I'm glad they're recognizing that. Mm-hmm. So,
back on the live action stuff, though, I keep seeing this on Instagram, and I keep thinking how great of an idea it is that no one is taking it. But it's the fact that Disney owns the Muppets. The Muppets have made their own iterations of classic tales. Let's do that for Disney movies. Muppets Beauty and the Beast. Muppets Little Mermaid. Like, let's get the Muppets in there.
I don't know if you watched, they released that like short series on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I watched that, and it was like true original storytelling with the Muppets, which there really hasn't been a lot other than like shorts in a long time with the Muppets. And it was really good. And then the second season got canceled already. Like it's, I don't know what it is, but Disney has an aversion to making Muppets content.
Yeah. I don't know. I think part of it might just be like, they're not fully Disney. Like, even though Disney owns them, I think that the creative control is still with like the Jim Henson Company probably. Yeah. So like, I don't know, they don't have full control over it, but like in the same way, that's good, Yeah,
it adds that second set of eyes to make sure you're producing quality content. And these are characters that everyone knows. Like they have a place in every person's mind. You've got Mickey Mouse and Kermit the Frog are like probably two of the most iconic characters. Mm-hmm. No one wants to see either of them have,
problems.
Right.
Yeah. But, one of them went through a divorce a while back. But, yeah. So, and then just some other briefly that I stumbled upon today. But Dune Part 2 currently is number 1 on the top 250 list on IMDb. And I find that completely insane, given that the movie has not come out yet. It will be out when this episode comes out, but at the time of filming, who's reviewing this? That's
actually really, I didn't think about that aspect of it. Like, I feel like looking right now, there isn't anything that really excites me that much. Mm-hmm. What's out there in the theaters. Dune is like probably what I would choose to pick if I like had to go see a movie. But at the same time, like, yeah, how? Just how?
I don't know. It could be just positive review bombing. You always have the negative stuff. There could be positive stuff, but it might just be like maybe people got early released access.
Yeah,
and are reviewing it already. But I don't know. It's right now. It's beating Shawshank Redemption, The Godfather, like all these like classic movies. And it's always weird to see a new movie take a spot so high.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of proves your point almost to an extent that like it isn't the general public who has seen it yet. And I mean, I'm no film critic, but when I like read something that a film critic says about a movie, like they're thinking about it from such a different lens and twist on things than like the average, person going to the movies. I don't know that like just because like some of our classic movies in history are because of the response that film goers have had, not necessarily like, yes, sometimes the reviews match the popular demand, but I don't know that there's like a perfect correlation there. I think they're kind of two independent things, and critics are looking for an audience or reviewing for an audience that's very film technical and that side of things. I'm not going and saying like, oh, the cinematography is glorious. Mm-hmm. It's just not what I'm going to see a movie for. And so I'm going to think of movies differently than I think generally how they're reviewed. And so it's hard. But I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. All right. I think it's enough news and current stuff to talk about. So let's go into your favorite movie. which is Mamma Mia.
You know it.
So we're only going to be talking about the first one this time around, just based on time. Let me see. So Mamma Mia came out in 2008. It was directed by, I got to read this because this is Phillida Lloyd. I think that's her name. Phillida Lloyd. That's her name. And if it's not, it is now. So yeah. For those of you that don't know, do you want to give a brief synopsis of Mamma Mia?
So Mamma Mia is based on the music of ABBA. And so ABBA...
Wait, you call it ABBA?
Yeah, what do you call it?
ABBA?
No, it's ABBA. I might be incorrect, but that just, it sounds so wrong to call it ABBA.
Hang on, let's turn to the experts. We have Lexi Brenner. Mamma Mia is one of her favorite movies as well. Is it ABBA or ABBA?
I say ABBA, but I don't know which one.
Oh, she agrees with me.
Well, it'll be used interchangeably for the remainder of this episode. But so basically they took the songs and a musical was written, and the musical has a slight different storyline to the movie. But then the movie basically is walking you through this story of Sophie and her mom, who kind of, graduated school and kind of lived freely for a little. I'll, keep it PG. And so Sophie does not know who her dad is. And so it's kind of like Sophie's kind of story of discovery. And I don't know that, if you were, watching the movie for the first time, that, that's how you'd describe it. But having watched it literally more times than I can count, I feel like there is so much more of a storyline and, underlying tones to it than you get from just the fun vibes that lay out throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, why do you like this movie so much? What about it speaks to you?
I don't know that it was really the movie itself that got me interested at first. So growing up, my aunt would always take my sister and I for day trips, and we would always listen to CDs in her car. And Mamma Mia, for some reason one time, was the only one she had in her car. She had the soundtrack to the movie. And so I had never heard any of the songs before. I had never seen the movie before. I knew nothing about it being a musical. Just heard the music and fell in love. And it kind of became a thing then that every time I went anywhere with my aunt, we played the music. Mm-hmm. And so then I was like, there's a movie. And I went and saw it and fell in love. And I think it, honestly, had I not heard the music first, I don't know that this would be my hands down number one movie, but I feel like it rightfully deserves that spot with kind of the personal history I have.
Yeah, so it's got you have a personal connection to the movie. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's sweet. Very nice. So let's jump right into dissecting this. So let's just kind of start with characters. Let's start with characters, because there's quite a bit here. I'd say probably there's 8 major players going into this movie. Obviously have Sophie. Then you got her mom and her friends. I
love Donna and the Dynamos. I want to be all 3 of them simultaneously. Quite possibly my 3 favorite characters are that trio. I could go on for literally forever about how much I love the 3 of them.
Interesting, because I love the other trio of the fathers.
Okay, fair. They're great also, but come on, Donna?
Hold on. I learned this the last time I watched this movie, but what's her one friend, the short one? What's
Rosie?
Her name? Rosie. That's Mrs. Weasley from Harry Potter.
I saw that when you sent me that document, and I was like, you are joking me. This is simply crazy. I'm not a Harry Potter fan, so I would never have figured it out on my own, but I can't unsee it now. Is just I have visions, and Mrs.
Weasley, you're married. You have kids.
So true, bestie. So true.
Yeah, and then the taller one, I don't know.
Tanya?
Tanya, yeah. She's in The Grinch. She's the one that the Grinch falls in love with.
You're joking me.
I'm not joking.
Oh, come on. You didn't know that?
No. They are pure characters. In my mind, they are not actresses, they are not actors, they are their characters. Like in my mind, there is like this storyline exists somewhere in Greece that like this is a true story, and I refuse to believe otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It a location. I mean, you mentioned Greece. Like the location is just so beautiful.
I mean, you want to talk about like a scene that looks beautiful, or like it's hard to say one doesn't look beautiful simply because they're in Greece. Like
Yeah.
everything is just stunning, and like you have storylines that just lend themselves so well to this picturesque background and running up the hills, and like there's just it is literally the perfect spot to set this story in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, moving back to characters now. So you like Donna and the Dynamos.
Absolutely.
I like the Three Fathers. I mean, I feel like it's all around, like, that group, they're just all so unique and fun.
Yeah. Okay, I have to ask because I have an answer here. Which is your favorite of the fathers?
My favorite is Colin Firth's character. Is it Harry? Is that his name?
Yes.
I think so. Because I think it's the same name as his character in... Yeah, it's Harry.
I love Sam, and I think, again, it's like a personal thing because before I decided to major in civil engineering, I wanted to be an architect. And so just Sam is like who I wanted to be when I first discovered Mamma Mia. And then he kind of like, spoiler alert, like he gets Donna in the end and they get back together and like, you know, all is happy in the end. But like he was just like who he is separate from Donna is what I wanted to be growing up. And like it was perfect because I had never like seen that in a movie of like, you know, that was what I wanted to do with my life. And so it was really cool that, you know, my favorite character was also basically me, I don't know, how 40 years older.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm more drawn to Harry as a character because he's the goofiest of them all. Like you have Bill, who's also just kind of wild and crazy, but he's also, you know, wild and crazy and cool.
Yeah.
Harry is just an awkward nerd.
Yeah.
Walking around in Greece who's kind of hoping to be pampered a little bit.
And I know we're talking about the first movie, but I think his storyline in the second movie, like I think he easily has the best storyline in that movie and really kind of gets a plot line that he deserves. Because I do feel like he's kind of like if you're considering like how, you know, from the director's eyes, how they fell, I feel like he kind of is the third dad. And I feel like he finally kind of gets his spot in the limelight in that second movie.
I think though he does get a little bit of like good limelight in the first movie because I was thinking about this earlier, and it's when Sophie sort of drops the hint that they're her fathers, and like you obviously have Sam who has his own scene kind of in the middle of like just like it's very stoic and peaceful, but then you get Harry and Bill who are at the party, but like Harry fully like the moment that he learns this, he's like, I'm ready to take care of you.
Yeah.
But then you have Bill who's on the table dancing and just kind of looks there like, what?
Well, and I feel like if you look at their lives, like before they come to Greece to like get told this news, I feel like his life kind of might have the least surprises to it in a way. And so like when you get the backstory from the second movie of like how Donna met them, like I kind of envision in my mind that he like, you know, became a banker and kind of just was okay being on his own for a while. And so when he gets this, he's like, I can finally kind of live to the life that I envisioned when I was a little kid. And I think like it's so sweet when you like really break it down, kind of his character development and the way that he portrays himself, you know, with Sophie and I do think, you know, not my favorite, but I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, so your favorite character, which one of the Dynamos is your favorite?
I feel like, I mean, this is like one of those questions where it's like, what day is it? And that changes things. But like, I really love Donna, and it's hard to not love Donna. But I think personality wise, Rosie is like, and we'll talk about this later, I'm sure, but like I could totally see myself as Rosie. And like especially like I don't know, 11:30 at night, I've just had like a cold glass of water. I'm energized, ready to go. I am Rosie. Like like it is so apparent that like that is my character in the film.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then you obviously have Sophie and Sky. So I didn't put this in your prep document, but I'm pretty sure this is true. Amanda Seyfried and Dominic Cooper, who played Sophie and Sky, they dated before this movie, and they broke up, I think, during filming.
I could see it.
First one.
Wow. I could see it, but like
They played like. Then again, they don't get much screen time together.
and maybe this is a hot take, but Sky's character really makes me mad.
Yeah, I don't like when he learns that Sophie brought her dad's, and he like keeps his composure, but at the same time he also questions, is this why we're getting married? Which I don't like. I do like how he's like, you should have at least told me because I could have helped you.
And I get that. But at the same time, like,
I don't like
the story is Sophie's like kind of self journey through this situation of like she's been raised by a single mom, and on what is kind of supposed to be the most important day of her life, she knows she has a father, and she like I think there's a lot of people who like raised by a single parent who almost wish that they knew who like that second parent was. Sophie has like a 1 in 3 shot that she guesses right, and she brings them all there, so that it's really more than like a 33% chance that she's she's kind of got it set up for, and in the end I think she kind of wins. She
gets 3 dads.
She gets 3 dads, right? But like I don't know, Sky's character, like I don't know, I wish he it almost feels like he wants more control than he gets, and yeah. I wish he would just allow Sophie to be the strong, independent woman that she is and is portrayed to be, until she's interacting with Sky.
Yeah. So then moving on to like scenes. This movie, it's basically all musical numbers.
Yeah.
So I guess the real question is, what's your favorite musical number? I won't necessarily say which is your favorite song, because they could be different.
They are absolutely different in my mind, and I'm sure we will get into it. But my favorite scene is, and I've kind of already talked about it, but Honey Honey, and just they are running on the hillside, and like the story is being explained to you, and like it's the first time where you really get it, but also it's paired with a great song. Like the song really fits so well in that storyline. Mm-hmm. It is beautiful in the background, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
like it has everything you could be looking for in this, like considering the quality of the movie. Like I'm never going to say this should be like number 1 in the history books of movies. I don't think it deserves that, but I love this scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me personally, I really like towards the end of the movie, I like Take a Chance on Me. I like when Rosie's trying to come on the bill, and he's just running away from her.
Yeah.
Until she falls off the roof and he catches her in the worst stunt I've ever seen, because very clearly you can see her jumping from his level.
Yeah.
Instead of falling down, she just jumps from the side into his arms.
Yeah. I mean, but like it's a scene like that really tells you like where this movie came from, and like just it was never the biggest budget film. It was never like they made concessions and things like that, but it makes it so much better.
Yeah.
I think another scene that kind of reminds me of is Chiquitita, and just like I have videos saved somewhere of my sister and I like reenacting the like hanging on the door, and like that takes some upper body strength first off. But there is just like such comedy in it, but it's still like telling this story, and like we are here for you. Like we came to visit you. We are here to be your support network. But there is just, it's told through such a comedic lens that like you just can't help but get a smile and like want to get up and dance. And again, it's like another one of those where the song fits really well. I think there's some times where I'm not a fan of the music, and I think it like generally that's some of the slower points of the film for me. But those two I are really just, if I could like if the movie had to be cut down to 10 minutes, those two scenes would have to be in it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And now, this might be a bit blasphemous, but are there any parts of this movie you wish weren't there or wish were a bit different?
I feel like the end almost is like kind of my least favorite part. Like I much prefer the beginning and middle.
Okay.
I think the end, when kind of the storyline changes, and like, yes, I love some of the way that they kind of, you know, considering that there wasn't a plan for a second movie, like this was the storyline. I think there's some things where, yes, they tie up loose ends nicely, but I almost kind of would rather it be Sophie and that perpetual sense of she's got 3 dads and a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, you know, I love that, you know, Sam and Donna end up together, but I don't know. I would love if they all just kind of took up residence on the island.
Yeah, I don't like the scene where they're going up to the church and it's Sam and Donna, because we'll get to Pierce Brosnan's singing voice, but like it just it just stops it. It just stops the movie. I feel like, because like we're going up to the church, we're going up. We just had a slow song, and now we're having a second slow song. Like, just get up there.
Yeah, I feel like if you asked, and like 100 people, 90 of them are going to identify that as the worst part, and you hit it exactly right. Like, it's just a slow part of the movie, and that climb is forever long.
Yes,
like I get it. Like, the hillside is a hillside, but you know, can it be a hill, not a mountain? Like, I feel like they're from a you know, script writing and directional sense, like it does kind of feel like an oversight with how they allowed that to just drag on.
Yeah. Then also, I had another. Oh, I lost it. Oh, as much as funny as it is, I don't like the scene with like the bachelor party and Tanya. I'm so uncomfortable. I'm just so uncomfortable.
I mean, to an extent, it's Tanya's character.
But the guys, I'm a little bit.
No, and there's kind of that running storyline throughout the movie of like the beach bar tender guy, like just constantly hitting on her, and I almost prefer the way that they like portray her character in the second movie, where like she's kind of the one on the prowl a little bit more than like people kind of hunting her down, if you want to phrase it that way. Makes it sound so wrong, but I do, yeah. It's kind of cringy of like, that's a weird relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. So now hopping into singing. The singing and dancing, the crux of this movie, I would say, more so than the story.
Yeah. So
I mentioned it before, Pierce Brosnan. Jeez.
I hear you, and I get it. It's not ideal for a musical. But I don't know. If I had to recast, I feel like the role is his. Like, and yes, maybe he's not the best singer, and yes, maybe there are others who way outshine him, but for perspective, he's also not the worst singer. Like, it is passable. It's just maybe not up to the quality that you would expect of a movie musical.
Well, the only singing I remember, because it's locked in my brain, is when he just goes that's how he sings. He does like short breaths. He doesn't like sing. He just goes
Yeah, I get it. I always want to stand up and come to his defense, but sometimes it is,
like, I'll come to the defense of Russell Crowe and Les Mis. Pierce Brosnan's a little bit tougher, because Russell Crowe, I feel like he doesn't do bad. I think he fits the role and he sings enough. But Pierce Brosnan, it just close-ups on him, and then this is what we hear.
It is unfortunate that there are also times where he is the lead vocalist.
Yeah.
I mean, I think storyline-wise, maybe it makes sense to keep it that way, but I do think when you cast, part of that is understanding where they fit into the script, and yes, I don't want him to have been recast, but I do think that maybe that's a little bit of a rewrite, like, because the musical that kind of led to the movie has a different order of things. It
Really?
isn't entirely the same, and the songs aren't sequenced the same way. You could have taken some liberties and shifted it a little.
Mm-hmm. So wait, what are like the differences between the musical and the movie?
I'm not confident enough to answer that accurately.
Because like I assumed that they were the same.
The general storyline is absolutely the same. It's some of those, I think primarily kind of in the middle of the movie is when there are opportunities of like concurrent storylines that you can shift around and honestly it makes sense because when you're doing a legitimate like Broadway musical, you have one stage.
Yeah.
And moving props and scenes and backdrops in and out, that's a choreographed dance on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And so just the ability to do that, I get requires certain things to be in certain orders in some cases.
Yeah.
And the movie, I think, is kind of there, looking back on this musical, if we can change anything and make this story make more sense, what will we do? And I think they kind of accomplished that I think there's a better flow to it in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so back to songs. Cause like I get what you're saying, but like if it's just like an order thing, like that's not too much to like complain about.
Yeah.
Or like be like, oh, I can't believe they changed this. Well, no, you have a bigger budget, you have
Right.
this island, and you have more time to
Right.
kind of edit down things. But yeah, songs. So are they they're different from the scenes that you mentioned? So
I
it's not
think the
Honey,
songs
Honey.
are tied to the same scenes or storylines. It's just kind of the order they're presented.
Okay.
Is my understanding. Now I haven't not seen the musical in a long time.
Okay.
So I watch the movie maybe once every 2 months.
But yeah, I meant like your favorite.
So
Like, are they connected? Like the scene, are they the same as your scene or?
no.
Okay.
They are not. Honey Honey is definitely up there. Like that is
Honey Honey is
that
my
is-
number one.
really.
I love it.
Okay,
It's
it
like-
is a fun one, and if I'm playing 3 songs, it's definitely in my top 3. So I
also-
get it.
I also just think Amanda Seyfried. I think that she is the best vocalist, and she doesn't have any songs.
Yeah. My favorite, and I think this kind of goes back to my love of Donna and the Dynamos, is Super Trooper. And in my spare time, I sing, and I will never sing on my own. Don't even ask. But that song has such a great bass part too, considering that it is a female-led song, and there's those parts in the chorus where just the men are kind of take a separate kind of track and just build on the song. And I just, from a singing choral perspective, there's just so much that I love about that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I said Honey Honey's my favorite because like it's just such a good melody, like good. It's a fun song, and
I want to sing it so bad.
It's also just so much of like an earworm.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
saw this movie last like maybe 2-3 weeks ago. I still can't get that in my head. Like that's how ingrained that is.
Fair. I think it should be that, give it that proper place in your mind that it deserves.
Yeah. I feel like I could say Mamma Mia or Dancing Queen. The problem is how close together they are in the movie.
Yeah.
And it kind of sullies it a bit for me in the movie.
Well, and maybe this is a hot take too. I am not a huge Dancing Queen fan.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I love the song, but I think you're exactly right with where it is in the movie. I prefer so many other things right before and right after it that I would almost rather that be a slower part and give some shift. Mamma Mia is a great song. And,
Yeah.
And I think so Honey Honey is the first song. Mamma Mia is the third song, and Dancing Queen is the fourth song in the movie. Like
Somewhere around
you
there,
are
yeah.
you are in a core part of this movie that like if you have to break down the movie into parts, that is the best part musically of this movie.
Uh-huh.
And I just feel like it gets overshadowed and gets more credit than it's worth.
It just I feel like they cram so much in, and it's like, here are the greatest hits.
Yeah.
Here they are, but they don't flow. Like Honey Honey fits story wise, Mamma Mia fits story wise, why is Dancing Queen here?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Dancing Queen just kind of happens, and it's like, hey, they're here. Dancing Queen.
That's actually like if you had to retell the story, you've got it.
Like I don't know. I don't like it when musicals just throw in a song to throw in a song.
Yeah.
I like it when it has story meaning.
Well, and I guess kind of that raises the question of like, how much did the film trust itself in like allowing the story to progress without a song?
Uh-huh.
And I think the answer is it didn't.
I think
Like-
in the middle it kind of it got some legs.
Yeah, I think so early on though they're like, we have to stick to the core of what this is, and it's almost to the point that it is a flaw of you're pushing too much into too little time.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm gonna completely contradict myself because one of my other favorite songs has no story meaning whatsoever, and it's just Waterloo happening at the end of the movie.
Oh my god, I love that you said this because I always like I want to say that Waterloo is my favorite because I think of the entire catalog of songs they could have pulled from, Waterloo is easily my favorite song.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't make it into the movie until the end. And so like, you know, people, you go to a movie theater and everyone always stands up when the credits start and it's like, you're missing the best song.
You're missing Waterloo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I also just really love the post credit because of the fact that they're having so much fun.
Yeah.
Like they're all dressed up in their glam outfits. Like it's just so much fun.
And you know, taking my two favorite songs, Super Trooper and Waterloo, go to the second movie and they're completely flipped that Waterloo gets a prominent spot and Super Trooper is the credits song. and it's like such pain for me of like, these are my songs and I don't get to enjoy them both in the movie together.
Let's get Mamma Mia 3, put them both in the movie.
Literally-
Mamma Mia 3, once again, we're here.
Mamma Mia 3 once again. I think we've got it.
We got it.
Hire
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. And we jump very far in the future. It's about Sophie's kid.
Sophie is also now dead.
It's actually Sky's movie. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of fun. It's a movie I don't take seriously, but it's a movie
Yes.
I will have fun watching.
Yes. I can put on the movie, and I'm to the point now where I've seen it so many times that I can probably recite most of the movie. I need some of the prompts, and like I'll never get the timing right. I'm not an actor by any means of the word. But I just, it's one of those that, like, you know how people just like put The Office on? Mamma Mia is that for me, that like I can just pop it on, and I mean, my playlist that I put on to like study or whatever is the soundtrack. Like yes, I have other things mixed in there, but almost every single one of the 16, 17 songs in the movie are on my playlist. And so it is such a fallback for me that I can watch it again and again and again.
Yeah, it is a great soundtrack. And I think now we're coming maybe more to a close. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get into our final segment?
I think you hit the nail on the head with this is a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine like when this movie came out, going to the movie theater and not getting up and wanting to dance. And so it's like best to watch this in like your living room and move your coffee table out of the way and just allow yourself to have a fun time. And any of my friends, I find out they haven't seen Mamma Mia. First, I consider like, are you really my friend if you haven't seen Mamma Mia? But then it's like, okay, so do we have time to watch it right now?
Uh-huh.
And I just think it's one of those that like everyone needs that fallback, and this is my fallback. And like, yes, I love, you know, Gianna in her episode mentioned the Grand Budapest Hotel, and I text her for like 2 hours about it then and was like, that is such a good movie, but I would never think of it because what comes to mind is Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
And like it has to be.
Yeah, you didn't put anything else on your list besides Mamma Mia and Mamma Mia 2. So, you know, that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now moving into our final segment, casting VTV people in Mamma Mia.
I'm so excited.
This is gonna be a fun one.
I had to take notes because I thought so long
I mean,
and
yeah,
hard
it's a
about
lot
this.
of people.
Yeah,
I see you jumped into the second movie for the last one here.
I had to. Like, how can you leave that character out? One, I mean, we'll get to it, but I hate Cher's role in the
Really?
second film. It's one of those that, like, you watch an interview with the directors and whatever, and they're like, yeah, the role was written for Cher. Like, we can't imagine anyone else in it. And obviously, because it's just Cher breaking the storyline. Like, why did we need a grandma? Why did Donna need to be dead? I just don't get it.
Spoilers.
Whatever. It's been out for long enough now. If you want to watch it, my apartment, I'm more than happy to watch it. But I cast Gianna as Cher.
Okay.
And I don't know, it just felt right to me. But I could go without that character in. I think the first movie is perfect not having that role.
Yeah, I think it's great to just have the core people.
Yeah.
I feel like Cher just kind of comes in, and like I can understand why she comes in, but on the other hand, it's like, did she need to be here?
Right.
Like, she wasn't in the first movie.
Right.
I don't have as much of an attachment to you.
Right. And I don't dislike Fernando, but I don't like him either. And so basically the point that makes Cher relevant beyond being the grandmother is him, and I could go without both of them.
Yeah, so I don't really have one for Cher. I mean, I guess this is where my my weekly Connor vote goes, is just showing up and kind of being like, hey, I'm here.
Fair.
Which seems to be where I put Connor in every single week. Except for the past 2 weeks, in which he is the main character, like, tenfold. But yeah.
Where should we go next?
Let's start with Sophie. Let's start with the main character. So yeah, who do you have as Sophie?
I put the one and only Lexi Brenner.
Put Lexi?
Some of them just came to me and it felt so right. Other ones, I had to think more on, and this is one of those that just felt right. I mean, so for context, Lexi's twin brother was my roommate freshman year, and we are still roommates. So I kind of know Lexi through that before I know her through VTV.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just feel like she, her kind of quiet personality at times, but also like she can be the one who commands the room. I think lends perfectly to that character. And just, like, the innocence but the sweetness, like, is Lexi.
Yeah, I think I agree with the character description. I would put Isabel though in that spot.
So I initially had Lexi / Isabella, but I placed Isabella somewhere else. And I feel like I was struggling with that character. So I agree. I feel like that's a fair answer.
So let's now move into Donna and her dynamos. So Donna, who do you have?
So VTV flashback, Audrey Agnew is the one and only Donna. And considering that Audrey and Lexi joke about, mother-daughter, I mean, it kind of fits that way, but also just Audrey was kind of like that mother figure in VTV when I first joined. And so I think it fits really well in just kind of the perception I have of Audrey. I also think like Audrey's understated comedy about her, that like she just like says things that are like casual and you could totally overlook it, but she is just so funny. And I feel like that is kind of Donna's character of like, I am serious, but also like I'm gonna make you laugh.
I think you're really nailing these descriptions because the people I have in mind fit that role so well. Because I have Allie, because like I feel like for you, like Allie was my Audrey, because you got to know Audrey more than I did.
And to that point, like Allie was a year older than me, and so like when I was in internal and Allie was internal director, like it was more like we were friends than seeing her as like the mother figure. I mean, I guess like I could argue it, and I agree, but I think it's that like age and stage of like considering you're a year younger than me, that it tracks.
Yeah. So let's move on now to Mrs. Weasley, Rosie. I read who you put down here. Just go ahead. You've already said it this episode.
It's me. Duh. Like, do I need to say more? Like wackadoodle mode fully unlocked. Like just being that free spirit and being who you truly are, I think is something that like I wish I had as much confidence in myself that Rosie has. She makes me laugh every time she speaks. She has such a great story to her also of like I don't know. I could go on with my love for Rosie and I think a lot of it is kind of that self-reflection on myself, and I had to put myself in this role.
I think for me, sticking in the VTV, I'd say this is where I have Lexi. So instead of having her in the Sophie role, I think I'd have her here. I think she could play the goofiness pretty well. I think she'd have a lot of fun there. Yeah, and now we got Tanya. So I'm assuming that this is the hard role that you had.
Yeah, I feel like landing with Isabella here makes sense. And I think the refined personality that is Tanya, I mean, we talked about those kind of cringy romance scenes.
Uh-huh.
I think take that out and that, like, it fits Isabella better. But I don't know. I see Isabella and I think, like, she's got her stuff together. And I feel like I say the same about Tanya, so...
I think this is where I do a little bit of gender bend here. I think this is where I throw Joe Adams in. I think Joe would do well here.
I love that, actually.
Because I think he has the self-confidence that Tanya, like, exudes.
Yes.
And, like, just, like, I feel like he would have the same kind of strut that Tanya has throughout this whole movie.
That is actually... I'm jealous that I didn't think of that. Like, you've got it. That is, like... recast right now and it's Joe Adams. It really is.
Yeah. I think that I think they have some qualities in line there with that self-confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's now move to the next trio of actually, you know what? No. Let's not go to the trio yet. Let's go to Sky. Let's take a little pause before we get to the goofy.
So, I mean, I said it earlier. I am not a Sky fan. And please do not allow that to be a reflection on the person that I cast in this role. But I put Joe here.
Okay.
I think that same kind of self-confidence aspect that you talked about, it fits here as well. That like, and I think Joe's self-confidence and Sky's self-confidence are in a different way, but it just the ability to have that, internal feeling, I think, lends Joe best to that role.
I think also just being like the one of the boys mentality.
Yeah.
Like with his whole bachelor party crew. But I think also here, like potentially like a Jacob could fit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been a Michael Carm. I think would do pretty well here.
And that's definitely a weakness I had when filling out this list. Some of the newer the VTV babies, I did not cast really any of them. It was more
I don't have any VTV baby. I have mostly like the older, like the people that you would know in my mind.
Yeah.
So let's now start with Pierce Brosnan, James Bond, Sam.
I put Josh.
Josh, okay.
And I'm not sold on that. Like, if Josh wants to audition for an alternate role, I'm open to considering. I think, though, what I talked about of just seeing Sam and kind of that being a role model role for me, like, maybe Josh is my role model.
I think Josh will especially like in VTV's future, will be a role model for many to come.
I mean, he's Quizzo Josh.
He's Quizzo Josh. I don't know. I think potentially another member of Steve Inc. I think Tommy could do pretty well. I could see him being like the architect, the divorced husband, the one who's just kind of there trying to win back someone. I could see him doing that because the others aren't necessarily doing that in this movie.
Right.
It's mostly Sam being like, I'm here to win her back.
Right. And I do think when you talk about the second movie, I think a lot of that storyline is unnecessary, but some of the backstory of the father trio really helps you understand the first movie better.
Yeah.
It taking the fun of the first movie and then partnering it with some of that more serious, like, this is how it came to be, I think aids it a lot. And the fact that you can keep them separate really helps as well.
So now next we have Harry, Colin Firth's character, which I didn't touch on this, but like he's playing like this. He used to play like the same characters over and over again, like the romance type and like rom-coms and like Pride and Prejudice and all that. But like I most know him from the fact that he's in the Kingsman movies. Like he's an action star in my mind, but all his other roles are these rom-com movies where he's a goofball.
Yeah.
But yeah, who do you have in mind for Harry?
I've got you.
What? I totally didn't see this coming and look ahead and know that this was coming. What? I don't know. When I watched this, I was like, Harry, that's me. He's got the awkward, he's got the goofiness, he's got it all. I just loved watching the movie, and it feels so good to like have you say that I'm his character.
How do you feel about the rumored storyline that he secretly is gay?
It's not rumored. I feel like it's confirmed.
I feel like in the context of the first movie, it is not confirmed.
Like, it kind of is, because like he even goes like, "Your mother was the last woman I ever loved," and then like you see him at the end.
Subtly hints it, and it's definitely like was an intention, but I don't know that like. I mean, like I guess he never comes out and says it. I guess is really. I guess
like, I don't think they have to though. Like I feel
fair
because like he ends up with like the one random guy that we've never met in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, very weird.
But I don't know. I'll play that. I'll play it.
I feel like in the second movie though, that's a storyline that gets
I
better.
would assume so.
It is allowed to grow a little bit more, and obviously like they're 10 years apart. The people preparing the second movie know that this is yeah.
And then finally we have Bill, the explorer.
Yeah. I feel like he's the hardest to explain, but yet like it's so clear in your mind.
Like just imagine the wild guy.
Yeah.
But who's like imagine Bear Grylls, but he's a hard partier.
So I put Connor for this.
Put Connor for that.
And I think you kind of touched on the reasons why of just like he can just like jump in and add that comedy, and I think that is what Bill's character does.
Mm-hmm.
I think considering, in this older stage for the fathers, coming back and meeting Donna, like it's clear that like Sam is the like down to earth, wants a relationship one. The other two are just like party type, and more so like Harry is just like, I'm finally letting loose and breaking free on my 9 to 5. Bill just like lives it day in and day out.
Yeah.
And I feel like it fits Connor.
I think that Jacob, along the Connor path, also fits along that. I think though Jacob could potentially take more ruggedness than Connor would.
Yeah, that's true.
But that just might be the beard that I usually see him with.
I think you're right though that it does require that like adventure-y aspect to it, and
yeah.
And I think some of it comes with just the comedy like builds the character, but the adventure is crucial to his background. So
yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. I think that's all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, thank you for coming on this week.
Thank you for having me and indulging my Mamma Mia love.
Of course. Mamma Mia. I was trying to think of a joke. I couldn't think of one. All right. So that's it for this week. This is our spring break episode. So we'll be back filming new episodes next week. And on the docket currently, we do have Big T himself, Tommy, coming in to talk about The Incredibles. Yes. So be on the lookout for that. But also things might change. So it might not be that, but hopefully it is. So, yep, that's it. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Logo.